welcome to EduCounts. In this video, we're going to talk about how do we factor the quadratic trinomial. So we're going to unlock the secrets of quadratic expressions and how do we factor this. So let's get started and discover what do we have in this lesson. So by the end of this lesson, we're going to identify what is the quadratic trinomial. We're going to learn today how do we factor trinomial where a is equal 1 and c is a positive number. So but we need to remember that the process of factorization is the reversing operation of multiplication. So or as we mentioned in the previous video, there is a big difference between the standard form and the factor form. So let's get started and see how do we do this with the quadratic trinomial. What is a quadratic trinomial? When we are talking about the word quadratic, so we are talking about that we have an expression that the highest degree is 2. So as you can see here right now, ax squared plus bx plus c is one of these expressions. We have here the highest exponent is 2, so that means our expression is a quadratic expression. On the other hand, when we are saying that this expression is a trinomial, we are talking about 3 terms. So ax is the first term, bx is the second term, and c is the last term. And this expression is x squared plus 5x plus c is an example of a quadratic trinomial. We have x squared as the leading term or the first term to the left hand side, and we can simply notice that here we have the highest exponent is 2. The term in the middle, which is 5x, is called the linear term since we have here the highest degree is 1. So and any expression with an exponent 1 or the when x is its exponent is equal 1 is a linear expression. So and c or the last number, which is 6, is a constant term. The constant term is a number without a variable. Okay, and we are gonna focus on the constant term and the linear term or the coefficient of the linear term to factorize this expression. So let's see what are the cases that we have right now. So the first case that we're going to talk about is when we have c is a positive number and a is equal 1. So in the previous example here, we have ax squared plus bx plus c. This is the standard form of this expression. So we're going to study right now what would happen or what we have to do right now if we would like to factorize this expression and a is equal 1 and c is a positive number. So the first case, when c is a positive number, if you would like to factorize this expression, you need to focus on the c. When c is a positive number, what we have to do? So we will factorize this expression as 2 brackets or 2 parentheses. So the first one and the second one, when c is positive, they must have the same sign. So when we are talking about the same sign, so we have 2 possibilities right now. They might be positives, they might be negatives. So based on what, we have to decide that the 2 brackets or the 2 parentheses must be negative or must be positive. So based on the b is the coefficient of the middle term or the linear term that I already mentioned before. So when b is positive, the 2 factors must have the same sign as b, which is positive. When b is negative, the both factors must have the same sign, which is negative sign. So here is the rule. If you are given this expression, ax squared plus bx plus c, and as you can notice here, there is no a in our expression because a here is, or the leading coefficient is equal 1. And c here is a positive. So the rule that we're going to follow right now, we are going to looking for 2 numbers. Their product is equal c, or in other words, if we multiply them together, the answer would be c. But if we add them up, the answer must be the same as the coefficient b. Here in this expression or the expression that we have right now, we are talking about quadratic trinomial, x squared plus 7x plus 10. So what is the first step we have to do? We need to looking for the c. Where is the c? C in our case here is 10. So I know right now c is equal 10. We have x squared plus 7x. So b here is equal 7 and a here is equal to 1. We don't care about a right now. We just care about the c and b. C here is a positive number. So we are looking for 2 factors. They must have the same sign based on the coefficient b. So your factors, they must have the same sign. They might be negatives or they might be positives. So here b is a positive, or since b is a positive, so our 2 factors, they must have a positive sign. So all what you have to do, you will factor this expression as two brackets like this, always. We always factorize this expression in this form. So the x squared is going to be factored as x and x. And then, since we said that c is positive, so the two brackets must have the same sign as b. Since b is positive, they must be positive brackets. So the next step, you are looking for the factors of 10. I need to find two factors of 10 that their product is equal 10 and their sum is equal 7. So here is to the right, we have all the possibilities of the factors that give us 10. We have the first possibility 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. So on the other hand, we have here the sum. 1 times 10 is equal 10, but the sum of 1 and 10 is equal 11. And here we have 2 times 5 is equal 10 as well, but their sum is equal 7. So we're going to choose the second choice here, since we are looking for the sum is equal 7 and the product is equal 10. So I'm going to write here 5 and write here 2, and it doesn't matter which one to the right or which one to the left. So, and we are done. So this is how do you factor a quadratic trinomial. So let's take another example. In this example, we have x squared minus 8x plus c. So as I mentioned before, I'm looking for the product must be equal positive 15 and the sum of the two numbers must be negative 8. So in other words, you need to write two brackets like this, okay, x and x here like this, and then since c is positive, the two brackets must have the same sign. So based on what? Based on the sign of the b. B here is negative, so the two brackets must be negative or have negative signs, okay? And then we need to list all the factors of 15. So we have the first possibility 1 and 15, okay, because 1 times 15 is equal 15. And we don't have any factors in times table of 2, but we have in times table of 3, since the 3 times by 5 is equal 15 as well. And what about 4? We don't have in 4. What about 5? We already wrote 5. So as I mentioned before, once we start repeating the process, that means we already finished or we found all the factors that we are looking for. So, and on the other hand, in this column, we are looking for their sum. So 1 and 15, their sum is equal. 1 plus 15 is equal 16. And 3 and 5, the sum is equal 8. And this is exactly what we are looking for. I'm looking for two factors. Their product is equal 15 and their sum is equal 8, the term in the middle or the coefficient of the linear term. So I'm going to write here 3 and write here 5, and you are done. So this is how do you factor the quadratic trinomial. So let's take another one. In this one, it says that which set factors would you see or would you use to factorize or to factor x squared minus 10x plus 24? So where's exactly the c? This is my c value, which is 24. And here's the b, which is 10. So the first step, I'm gonna look at the sign of c. We have c here is positive, so I'm gonna write two brackets like this, x and x. And since c is positive, so the two brackets must have the same sign based on the b. B is negative, so both of them would be negatives. And then we need to list all the factors of 24. We have 1 times 24, and we have 2 times 12, and we have 3 times 8, we have 4 times 6, we have 5. No, we don't have any number in 5. We have 6. Yes, we have 6 times 4. We started to repeat, so that means we finished all the possible factors of 24. Right now we need to find the sum. The sum here is equal 25. The sum of 2 and 12 is equal 14. The sum of 3 and 8 is equal 11. And the sum of 4 and 6 is equal 10. So I'm looking for two factors. Their product is equal 24 and their sum is equal 10. So I'm going to write here 4, I'm going to write here 6. And that's it. This is exactly what you have to do if you would like to factorize a quadratic trinomial in case you have a is equal 1 or the leading coefficient is equal 1 and c is a positive number.